So I think we've got two stages here. One is Trump's violent imperialism is about taking control over Venezuela's existing oil and oil exports. And so that's the first stage. And then the second stage is clearing the deck to provide risk assurances and U.S. taxpayer guarantees to U.S. oil companies to make it safe and profitable for them for the $100 billion or so of investment needed to upgrade Venezuela's oil infrastructure to increase production. So we can start with the first step very quickly. Trump already announced that they've seized about 30 to 50 million barrels of oil that's in storage. And Venezuela right now exports around 400,000 barrels of oil a day. So Trump is taking control and title over that oil. There are three companies with exclusive licenses to move that oil: Chevron and the commodity traders Vitol and Trifigura. Vitol and Trifigura have already moved 4.8 million barrels of oil out of Venezuela on four tankers that they're going to try to sell to U.S. refiners, Marathon, Valero, and Citgo to process that heavy crude. The next step will be taking control over the 400,000 barrels of oil a day that Venezuela currently exports. No additional investment is needed. And again, Vitol and Trifigura are going to do all the heavy lifting. And all the proceeds of those sales are going to be deposited in US based banks that will be under the control, as Trump himself said, unilaterally by him. And so, what I expect here is that to placate US frackers who aren't happy about the potential lower prices that this will have for US fracking, is they're going to get paid two ways. One, their current waste byproduct of natural gas liquids are going to be sold to Venezuela as a diluent for the heavy sour to make it suitable for transport. So they're going to get paid that way. And then Trump is going to take some of the money from controlling Venezuela's oil to pay U.S. frackers to fill the strategic petroleum reserve so that there's a guaranteed market for their oil and keeps their prices up. But the big outstanding question is, what guarantees will the U.S. taxpayers be forced to provide to big oil to get them to invest in Venezuela? And that's the thing we'll be watching. Preliminary data already shows that the first year of the Trump administration has resulted in higher greenhouse gas emissions for the United States. The Trump administration has made clear that they've declared war on the clean energy transition. So exploiting Venezuela's climate intensive oil reserves fits in with their overall fossil fuel agenda. What's particularly troubling from our perspective is that the only way for oil companies to increase Venezuelan production of that, very dirty, climate intensive sour crude is with significant U.S. federal guarantees and subsidies. So you're going to see a shift in allocation of public resources of the US government away from clean energy technologies and towards some of the highest climate impact fossil fuel resources. Trump's national security agenda that he released in November was a pretty radical departure from the status quo, where he essentially argued that the world is going to be divided into spheres of influence. The United States is going to control the Western Hemisphere, and countries that align with our interests will be fine. Countries that don't, we're going to invade and take over. In the Middle East, he's going to defer to the Saudis and the Israelis. And as Kate said, China's already sort of moving on from Iran. And Trump was just quoted yesterday saying that he hopes that China doesn't invade Taiwan, but he said, that's ultimately going to be China's call because it's China's business. So again, radical departures from the status quo. And as Gerard said earlier, the market is clearly unconcerned with the upheaval going on in Iran and Venezuela and elsewhere. because the price of oil is staying very static. So that's because we're pretty oversupplied, and there's no risk premium being attached right now.